Now, and that's on both sides. Now, remember, we still have 4 other states that are still contemplating war. We've got Virginia, Tennessee, Missouri, and I want to say, what was the other one? Arkansas. And they're still contemplating whether or not to secede or not. Well, after these come out, on both sides, Friends of the South and Justice to Arms. Let's see, they're calling for recruitment posters, Union Blood Rifle Guards without delay. The South strikes the first blow. Okay, so now that's where everybody's starting to gather their armies. So, what do we do with ours? No, go ahead and add this. Skip a line. Or no, you don't have to skip a line. We're all on page 61. Go ahead and get this information down.
Do we title it the same as Title it the same?
You can, yeah, Civil War continued. Ooh, and I have a cool sound effect. Boom! I knew you'd all be impressed. You can tell all your other teachers how much cooler I am.
3 times.
See?
I think it was a cool sound effect.
Thank you, Daniel.
Miss Warren,
I like how it's still going.
I was talking to Travis yesterday and he said he'd be interested in that UIL maps and graphs.
Attaboy.
I went ahead and signed and filled in the papers for you, Travis.
Were you going to do it, Corbin? If you don't have to, if you don't want to. Okay. I got people. I got people doing it. First battle of the Civil War.
What do we title this position?
You could say Civil War continued.
I'll give you the set of papers, Travis.
Does that mean the South is Fort now too?
I'm sorry?
South owns that fort now too?
Yeah, the South took over the fort. The Union had to surrender. And of course, that's a really big boost for everybody in the South, of course, the Confederate Army. Now, the last war that the United States had been involved with prior to this was the Mexican War in the 1846, 48. Now, that took place, most of those battles took place down in Texas and Mexico. This is going to take place in their front and backyards. Nobody really had an experience with war and the destruction and the death. Today, we can watch movies, we can read books, we can see old video. This was different. Each side thought it was going to be over in a matter of months. Everybody was going to come home a hero. No one was going to get hurt, and they were both sides figured, yeah, we got this, right? Not so much. Now, the very first land battle that was planned was a place off of just outside of Washington, D.C. called Manassas, Virginia, or Manassas Creek. So sometimes this battle might be referred to as Battle of Manassas. Now, it's called Bull Run. Now, they're both looking for a high area for them to take over. And news of this battle went out, and so people thought, cool, let's make a picnic and go.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah. So people dressed up in their Sunday best, packed a picnic lunch, went to sit on the side, say, let's see our boys win. Yeah. It wasn't all that. And the Confederates end up winning. Have you ever heard that phrase, the rebel yell? Okay. Well, they had taught some of their soldiers, as they run out of the field. Well, it kind of freaked the Union soldiers out. They were inexperienced, first of all. They hadn't been trained properly yet. And they were like, and then when they start getting, people, arms are blown off, bullets start flying, blood, explosions, the panic of a battle. Our Union troops went, for me, and took off back home. All right, so the Confederates win that particular battle. And, of course, the picnickers were like, Yeah.
Did
What?
any of them
Oh.
die?
Oh yes, there was high casualties in this, and of course the Confederates win that battle, which is another boost. But the reason why I'm talking to you about this, it was put things in perspective. That this war was going to be much worse than they thought it was ever going to be on both sides. Yes.
Who's going like the Red Hats?
That is another regiment of Scottish, I believe they were. We'll have to talk about them later, but they're a different kind of infantry, and I believe they were made up of some foreigners. Anyway, we'll talk. Good question. All right. So, who's going to lead these armies? All right. Well, we're going to talk about this guy here. What's his name? Skip a line. Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was from Virginia. He was a decorated leader in the American Army, in the American Marines at the time. He was the one who led the charge to capture John Brown. And Lincoln sends him a request. He says, General Lee, I would like you to come to the White House and talk to one of my military advisors about leading the Union Army. We are raising an army of 75,000 called the Army, they called it the Army of the Potomac, to put down this rebel cause, to put down, and take care of this problem. So he meets with them. I'm sorry. And obviously from what you see here, does he take the Union job? No. And then we're going to watch this a short clip from a movie called Gods and Generals. It's a famous Civil War movie. And Robert E. Lee in the movie is played by Robert Duvall. I love him. He's one of my favorite actors.
He was in To Kill a Mockingbird where I forgot his name, but he had no speaking lines in To Kill a Mockingbird.
I don't remember him being in that, but I do remember, if you've ever seen Lonesome Dove, he was Gus in Lonesome Dove. God, he's been in so many movies. That's a terrible example because it's a little older. Okay, you guys ready?
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall. Okay. And I want you to listen for given it why he gives the reason why he doesn't want to be with the Union.
Welcome, Lee. Welcome to my home. Make yourself comfortable. Now come on.
He was a boo in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Allow me to get to the point, sir.
He was always
I have been authorized by President Lincoln himself, with the full blessing of the War Department, to offer you full command of the Army with the rank of Major General. This army being raised to quell this rebellion and, of course, to preserve the Union.
I've seen this army to be used to invade those areas, to eliminate the rebellion by force.
Yes, sir. The federal government has been challenged by these rebels, who have been most effective in changing the sentiments of various state legislatures, challenging our Constitution and challenging our central government. The attack on Fort Sumter cannot be ignored.
General, my home is right there across the Potomac, where you can see Arlington House from your front door. My family is spread all over this part of Virginia. If you invade the South, your enemy territory will be there, right across that river.
Well, sir, there is no great outcry for secession in Virginia. It's not a foregone conclusion that Virginia or Tennessee, Arkansas, or Kentucky will join the rebellion.
My friend, may I humbly submit that you're mistaken about Virginia. As you know, the legislature is convening in Richmond this very day to discuss the very issue of secession. Now, perhaps you know their mind better than they themselves. And I regret to say the president's hasty calling up of 75,000 volunteers to subdue the rebellion in the cotton states has done nothing to ameliorate the crisis. It has only deepened it.
I trust you're not being too hasty yourself, Colonel. This is a great opportunity for you to serve your country.
Our country, Mr. Blair. I never thought I'd live to see the day that a president of the United States would raise an army to invade his own country. No, Mr. Blair, I cannot lead it. I will not lead it.
I'm sorry to hear you say that, sir. I fear you're making a most dreadful mistake.
Sir, would you please convey my deep sense of honor and gratitude to the President, but I must decline his offer. Please tell him. Please be clear. I have never taken my duties lightly, but I have no greater duty to my home, to Virginia.
All right. So what was his reasons for not leading the Union Army? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hands. Which one, Jada?
He never dreamed that the president would be raising an army to invade it.
Oh, absolutely. So maybe if Lincoln didn't do that, but do you think Lincoln had a choice? Yes.
I think that he just didn't want to be the one commanding the army and going against his fellow soldiers.
What does that tell you about the state of the nation's mind when he is more concerned about his state than leading the country? Yes. Yeah, it's about, they're really committed to this states' rights issue in the South, aren't they? They're not looking at each other as we are American. No, it's we are Virginian. We are from Mississippi. We are, there is no strong unity, and that becomes a great problem. All right, everybody, so let's talk about it. I'm going to tell you right now, Robert E. Lee was one of the biggest advantages the South had. He was a brilliant general, and he probably, the war would not have gone on as long as it did if it wasn't for him. So let's look at some other advantages and disadvantages. I just passed out a graphing the Civil War page. No. All right. So this is called Graphing the Civil War. And on this page you have a variety, 8 different graphs containing data about the North and the South, or the Union and the Confederacy. If you look on that second graph, I've completed an example for you. Now, on the y-axis, yes, I did use math terms in history class. Isn't that exciting? In the y-axis, you need to look at the unit of measure. It's hundreds of thousands. Now, the Union State had 2,250,000 square miles of acreage. So, as you can see, I went all the way up to a little bit above 22. So, be careful when you're looking at those numbers. Now, once you get done looking at those charts and analyzing some of the differences between the two, I want you to turn over that paper. And there's 6 questions that I want you to answer about the data that you've come up with. So by the time you end this assignment, it should give you a really good idea about some northern advantages and some southern advantages or disadvantages. Okay? You'll have the rest of the class period to work on this and go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.